This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
One of the other things I'm excited to talk about is the first real hot angle that's going to draw major money with Cornette and the Midnight Express. They're going to be celebrating their tag team title victory that was interrupted by the Rock and Roll Express by shoving Cornette's Cornette's face in a cake. Anytime there's a cake in wrestling, somebody's face is going in it. And Cornette gets hot about Bill Watts replaying it on TV. And then Watts is going to wind up slapping Cornette during a promo. Well, of course, that can't go unchecked. Cornette and the Midnights bloody Bill Watts, and that draws him out of retirement. And I know in theory, this seems like a simple angle, but man, in '84, this was a big deal, was it not?
Oh yeah. I was standing right there, Conrad. I was a microphone holder. I was I was there on the scene. Wasn't sure how hot the angle was going to be. But you got to remember, Watts has been on TV every week. He was the voice of reason. He was the chairman or the president of the company, president of Mid-South, as he was introduced every week. And so people loved him. He was a beloved figure. And when he'd make a ruling that would level the playing field after a babyface had been screwed around, the fans thought that was, that's the way you lead. That's leadership. And Bill was very outspoken on commentary, very logical. He pointed out things that you couldn't turn your head away from that were true, as far as talking about a heel's persona or a babyface's persona. So Bill was that figure that had been around for a long time. I'll tell you this, go back and look at the Attitude Era when Vince McMahon became a performer, a talent. And he wasn't the announcer, Vince McMahon. He was Mr. McMahon. Same scenario as far as being this beloved figure that you're comfortable with. You're very accustomed to hearing the voice. He's a staple of the promotion, and that's what Bill was, what Vince was. So there's a lot of comparisons to that aspect. Because I've said this many times, we never had a better heel in the Attitude Era than Vince McMahon. I don't think. This is my opinion, and because he was the catalyst to create the biggest star that we ever had there, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it worked out. They kept drawing money. They kept drawing great ratings. So Cowboy wasn't beloved, but people knew you didn't screw with him. He still was 6'3" and 300 pounds. He still looked decent. Just a big guy, not a bodybuilder, but just a big man. As my granny would say, he was double-shouldered, raw-boned, all those cliches. And then of course, Cowboy got the appropriate amount of color. He's bleeding. Then it becomes more dramatic. Recently we had that match on TV where Sammy Guevara got bloodied up with Matt Hardy, and in that tables match. Well, fuck. It added to the drama. It added to the moment, and that was a big thing. So consequently, that's Cowboy got the color. And for a lot of these people, they'd never seen Bill bleed. Here's our beloved leader, the guy that always rights the wrongs, and now he's bleeding at the hands of three people, primary two, but Cornette was obviously involved. And it was such an emotional angle that it electrified the territory. And the results, as I'm sure you have, was pretty tremendous of how well that damn thing drew. It was money. It was big time money for us. We did, I know this may not sound like a lot of money today, but in that little territory, we had a $1 million week of live events and ticket sales. And in anybody's game, even today, that's a lot of money. A lot of money.
Do you think this angle would have worked with any other manager in the business at the time besides Cornette? I can't see it.
I don't know. Maybe Heenan.
Right.
Maybe Heenan. But it took a special character to pull that off. And the other thing, too, here's the thing that Cornette was smart to understand, but he never wavered. He knew that he was going to become one of the most hated people in that whole region of the United States. Our TV ratings, we were getting shares that were double digits. We were getting ratings that were double digits. We were on network affiliates and the spots that became later on spots for like Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, the prime access. So if the news, if the prime time was in Central Time Zone, that started at 7 o'clock, we're oftentimes on from 6 to 7. Great stations, network affiliates, and prime spots, big audiences. So it wasn't going to be like it was a secret. It was on some obscure UHS station that nobody could get. This was big time stuff. So, but Cornette knew, hey, your world's going to change here, pal. The hotels you stayed at before, you might not want to stay there again. You might want to create a new path for yourself, and be more obscure and reserved, back off the public side of that deal. So you wouldn't stay at the heel hotel. Cowboy always had in the Mid-South territory, there was in every town there was a designated heel hotel and a designated babyface hotel, and the two should never cross. They would never cross. So you might not want to stay at the obligatory heel hotel where all the fans knew you were staying, unless you relish getting your tires slashed or whatever vandalism on your vehicle, or maybe worse. So the world was going to change for Jim Cornette after that angle. But here's the thing: he knew it. He knew it puts him in a dangerous position. And some fans of today will have a hard time relating to what I'm saying here, because you don't see that kind of heat today. There's no heel anywhere in the business that had the kind of heat that Cornette and the Midnight Express had right after shooting that angle. Nobody. And that's not knocking the heels of today. It's not knocking the great stars that are heels and who only wish that they had the free hand to do as much crazy shit that the Midnight Express did, and the blood and the guts and the color, all those things. They don't have that opportunity nowadays. But they knew the world was changing. But along with that change was going to come a lot more money, and that's exactly what happened.
We should mention, when you're talking about a lot more money, over the 5 weeks of doing the Last Stampede tour, they shatter attendance records at the Sam Houston Coliseum. Easy for me to say. They shatter attendance records at the Sam Houston Coliseum, more than 20,000 in Tulsa and Oklahoma City in the same day, and 23,000 at the Superdome. It leads right into the Midnights and the Rock and Roll feud, which is going to lead to 1984 probably being the most successful year of Mid-South, and really helped push the Midnights and Cornette individually to superstardom. Do you think it was such a breakneck pace that he could really appreciate it? Or did he even recognize that he was such a big part of history? And I mean, it's probably a lot for a 22, 23-year-old to wrap your head around.
Yeah, but you got to remember, he had started photography and being around the business on an inside behind the curtain level when he was 14.
Right.
So he already had 9 years of practical experience. Plus you're talking about a guy that was extremely bright, a legitimate and true student of the game. So I think he was aware of what they were doing because he'd watched so much wrestling. He'd seen angle shot before, seen reactions of crowds, and so forth. So he was, I think he was quite aware of what was going on. Too smart not to recognize it. But boy, it was something. And Cowboy never did dislike tag team wrestling, but he never had two teams that paired up. So they were just in sync.
Right.
He never had two teams like that before. They were that natural, and very seldom did you find that. You can go back in time and look at, the Texas Outlaws were big in the AWA. They had Gagne and they had Bockwinkel. They had great workers to work with too. The Hart Foundation had some great teams to work with, no doubt about that. But it's just here, there, and yon. It didn't happen on a regular basis. It wasn't an automatic. So I think that Cornette was very well aware of what they were doing, the steps they were taking, and that 1984 year was a fabulous year for all of us. I made more money in that year thanks to the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express than I had ever made in the wrestling business, because Cowboy took care of me when it was there. And then he would give me a booking every now and then. Some of those Last Stampede matches I refereed, just basically off the animosity that I would have on commentary toward Cornette and chastising him and how they cheated to win, blah, 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 all the stuff you're supposed to say. Then Cowboy would give me it didn't endear me to the other referees because I would come in and work that one shot and work that one match. And, you know, the stuff where we had matches for Cornette, if you lost, you had to wear a diaper or you had to suck a baby bottle or whatever, wear a dress, things like that. I refereed a lot of those matches because Cowboy knew the house was going to be big. He could afford to pay another referee some money. And for me, you know, when I broke into the wrestling business, Conrad, making $25 to $40 a night as a referee, to go in there and make $100, shit, man, I was farting through silk.
Let's
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.